Today, we're going to explore the new Xiaomi 14T Pro, the successor to the popular 13T Pro. What new goodies are in store for us this time around? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Xiaomi 14T Pro review. High-end Xiaomi phones are known for their focus on photography, and the Xiaomi 14T Pro improves on that, and some other things as well. It brings both a new main camera and a new selfie cam, plus this year there's a brighter screen, a new chipset, and wireless charging. The design of the phone has changed a bit. This year there's no vegan leather option. You get a glass back with a matte metallic finish, which curves into a matching colored aluminum frame. The camera housing is also the same color, lending an elegant and unified metallic look. Smudges are also no issue with this finish. You get IP68 rated ingress protection against water submersion and dust, just like last year. The Xiaomi 14T Pro also packs the same 6.67-inch OLED display with a 1220p resolution, Gorilla Glass 5 protection, and a 144Hz refresh rate. But like I mentioned, the brightness has been updated this year. We measured a maximum of over 560 nits with the manual slider. And there's a sunlight mode available, which can boost that brightness to over 750 nits. And with automatic brightness on, the maximum we saw was over 1200 nits. That's plenty, but still not quite as bright as some other flagships these days. Otherwise, the Xiaomi 14T Pro brings the same bells and whistles as its predecessor. There's higher sharpness than your typical 1080p panel, and there's support for 12-bit color depth, HDR10+ video, and Dolby Vision video. The 144Hz refresh rate is only used for compatible apps and games. More often, you'll have 120Hz to smooth out your swiping and scrolling. This isn't an LTPO screen, so while idling, the refresh rate will only dial down to 60Hz to save energy. For audio, the Xiaomi 14T Pro has a stereo speaker setup with Dolby Atmos support. The speakers have good loudness, and you get rich vocals, well-presented highs, and enough bass. The 14T Pro has an under-display fingerprint scanner, which works flawlessly. It has new animations and vibrations, which makes it feel even faster. The phone can come with 256 or 512 gigs or a terabyte of onboard storage that isn't expandable through microSD card. And the interface of the 14T Pro is Xiaomi's HyperOS on top of Android 14. While there are some tweaks and under-the-hood improvements, HyperOS looks and behaves a lot like the previous MIUI and should feel familiar to longtime Xiaomi users. If you'd like to find out more about the specifics of HyperOS, you can check out our dedicated video. And for software support, Xiaomi promises 4 OS upgrades and 5 years of security patches here. The chipset of the Xiaomi 14T Pro is the new MediaTek Dimensity 9300+. Compared to last year's 9200+, this one has newer generation CPU cores and a better GPU. In benchmarks, the Xiaomi 14T Pro is indeed more powerful. In fact, the CPU performance tops the charts. And the graphics performance holds its own against the rest of the flagship competition. There's plenty of raw power here for gaming or whatever other tasks you need to do. The thermal management isn't the best though. We observed significant thermal throttling during our prolonged stress tests, with lots of dips and spikes, and the phone got quite hot as well. It's a big difference from last year's 13T Pro. Still, during real-world gaming sessions, we didn't run into any issues. The Xiaomi 14T Pro has a 5000 mAh battery, and battery life is solid, with an overall active use score of 12 hours and 32 minutes in our tests. It's a bit of an improvement over last year's 13T Pro. Xiaomi has turned over a new leaf when it comes to charging. We were surprised to find that at least in the EU, the 14T Pro doesn't come with a charger in the box. For better or worse, Xiaomi has finally joined the trend set by Apple and Samsung. With a proper 120-watt charger, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 74% in 15 minutes, and a full charge took only 23 minutes. That's even a bit faster than last year's model. And a new development this year is that there's support for 50-watt fast wireless charging as well. And now the cameras. The 14T Pro has a new 50-megapixel main cam, a 50-megapixel 2.6x telephoto zoom, that's longer zoom than last year, and a 12-megapixel ultrawide camera. During the day, the main cam's photos are pretty great. They have pleasant colors and wide dynamic range, and the sharpness and detail are very good. The detail isn't 100% natural looking. Some textures have an overprocessed look. Shots of people look solid too, with well-defined facial detail and good skin tones. The depth of field is quite shallow, which is great for isolating your subject from the background, but for nearby subjects you may not be able to get the whole subject in sharp focus. The Leica Authentic mode gives you a stylistic result with a darker exposure, some vignetting, and less saturated colors. And 2x digital zoom from the main camera is decent, with enough detail and definition. At night, the main camera produces photos with great dynamic range. Shadows are well developed and highlights are preserved. Colors are also hard to fault, and the detail is excellent. The Telephoto camera provides a 60mm focal length, or a 2.6x zoom over the main camera. The shots have excellent sharpness and definition, and the dynamic range is very good. The colors look great too. Unlike some higher-end Xiaomis though, this camera doesn't have the ability to focus up close. There's a 5x toggle as well, which uses some digital zoom on top. The results are quite usable. The Telephoto does okay in the dark, but it's nothing too exciting. The photos can be a bit too contrasty, with relatively harsh tonal extremes. Still, the detail is very good, and colors are also rendered well. And now the Ultrawide. Despite its relatively unremarkable hardware, the Ultrawide's photos are solid. They're sharp enough, the dynamic range is wide, and colors are quite pleasing. There's no autofocus here, so close-ups are a no-go. In low light, the Ultrawide exposes well, and has pretty good dynamic range, and colors aren't too bad. The sharpness isn't great though. The Xiaomi 14T Pro packs a new 32MP front-facing cam, and selfies are decent, but hardly praiseworthy. There's less detail than you'd expect at this resolution, and there's excessive sharpening. The lack of autofocus also sets it behind the competition. The 14T Pro can record in 4K with all of its cameras, and the main cam can record in 8K as well. 4K footage from the main cam is good, with wide dynamic range and good color saturation. The sharpening is a bit too much though. The zoom camera gets more natural processing, but the footage is a bit grainy and not quite pin sharp. Still, the quality is pretty good. The Ultrawide's videos look alright overall, with some small missteps, like the magenta tinge in the road. Electronic stabilization is excellent across the board. Walking shake is nicely ironed out, and pans are smooth on all cameras. And low-light videos from the main camera are very good. Exposure and dynamic range are excellent, and colors are on point. Our only complaint is the slight softness in the shadows. So that's the Xiaomi 14T Pro. It's a premium device with top-notch performance, super fast charging, and great cameras. The screen is brighter than last year's, and you get fast wireless charging too. But with that said, the 14T Pro launches at the current going price of some proven flagship competitors. So as much as we like this phone, we advise you to get it only when the price settles down a bit, or if you catch an early bird discount. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're looking for alternatives, you can check out our reviews of the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus and the OnePlus 12. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.